Welcome all. Today we are discussing about the news values. Before going into news values, let us see what is news. It's just to recall the elements or the definitions of news. So here we go. The news is information about the current event. So that is what we have studied earlier. It is the information about something that has just happened or will happen soon. So it is always about the information of the society which happens in or around the society, which is related to the society. So all those information become news, and we do used to read this information maybe in the published content, or we do watch this kind of information in electronic media. So it is newly received or noteworthy information. So the newly received and noteworthy, especially on the recent event. So this is what we know about the elements, or this is what we call as news. The current information freshly happened and tend to be shared with the people because it may have some of the impact factor. Here, before deciding about what goes into the news, because every day we come across thousands of information, even we speak to our friends, there's a form of information, we speak to the family members, or we discuss with our students. All these are the form of sharing information only, but it doesn't mean that each and every information which occurs can become news. So that news is information, but not every information is news. Then there must be some criteria, or there must be some formula which help us to differentiate between the news and information. So that's what we are going to study today. So whenever it comes to the news, in a newspaper office, it will be the duty of an editor or a reporter to weigh or value the news or information. They receive information, they cross check it. In case they find it is newsworthy, then they will get it written. In case it is one of the information which has to be shared, in case it has that value of news, then that will be published later. So here we came across one word called news value, and these are the criteria which distinguish news from the information. Let us check with what are these values, or what we call as news values. So here is the definition which says news values are general guidelines or criteria used by the media outlets such as newspaper or broadcast media to determine how much prominence to give to a story. So it is the criteria or the guidelines followed by the media houses. So these guidelines will help you to identify news out of information. Let us check with these values one by one. The first news value, as you see on your screen, that is timeliness, which comes with the definition which says that news is perishable and it loses value as it ages. So the timeliness factor, every information will be cross checked with this timeliness factor first, and in case that information has this value, then we can decide whether it goes into the news or not. So let us see what is timeliness. As you know that readers want to know. So that is the first expectation of a reader when he buy one newspaper. He wants to know something, but he wants to know now. It is not like something happens today and reader will get to know that after a month. It will never happen in media houses today, because constant updation is needed. Whenever it comes to this timeliness factor, the updation or the immediacy to that information will be highly appreciated people want to know, but they want to know now. So this is how they receive information, or this is what they expect from a newspaper or the media houses. So that's what we have to give to them. And what happened yesterday, last night, or this morning is more newsworthy than what happened last week. Even the news or information which occurred a week back may not be entertained by the people, because you know that whenever it comes to the print media, we have a timeliness factor which is associated with the deadline. So whatever happens today, that has to be reported tomorrow. But when it comes to electronic media, this value has even more even it has to be given as it happens, no deadline. Like something happening now, it has to be reported now. So this is the criteria of electronic media, and you know that the breaking news, something broken, right? So that immediacy or that need of reporting soon or as it happens, it leads to some consequence. You know that in the name of breaking news, we don't verify the news, and we just give it to the public, and you know what happens or what has happened with this timeliness factor, especially in electronic media. Most of the times the false news have been given to the people, let it be. But when it comes to the print media, we have a little more relaxation. Here the timeliness means we will be having a deadline of a day. So whatever happens today, we can verify till evening, and we can get the verified news for our reader tomorrow morning. So in this issue, what we have to consider is that the content is of this time, or content is of today. It is not the content of the last week, because people may not entertain that kind of information, because they will be receiving, they will be having that updation in any of the electronic media or new media. Every day they used to share information through WhatsApp and all of the social media. So that news has that immediacy factor today. So when it comes to the information, in case it is of time or it is of today, then you can consider to publish that particular information. So this is one of the value which we apply for decide one information, whether it could be the news or not. So this is how we decide it. And when it comes to the timeliness, we have to observe one particular issue, that in case we are referring some content of past, can we do that or not? You may get this doubt. For example, if something has happened last week and today you want to report on some of the aspect of that particular news, it is not the same old news, instead maybe some updation. So that is what you have to concentrate. We can write some information of past in case the same information get a new twist or new angle, or maybe it is something like related to discovery or disclosure. However, it will make an old news timely again. In case it gets some twist or some updation, you can consider the old news to be published later, but not the old news as exactly, instead with the updation which you have today. The same holds true for some of the future event also. In case you are aware of curtain rise, it speaks about the event which happens sooner, which happens tomorrow, which happens day after. So even this kind of information we have to check with this timeliness factor. In case this curtain rises are closer to the date of publication, more value it will have. In case you are writing something about one incident which is going to happen a month later, it may not entertain the people, or people may not see it is appropriate to read that information now. In case you write something about event which is going to happen tomorrow, that will be entertained, because they may attend that event, or they may receive that information with the more enthusiasm than the other kind of information. So let's go with another news value, the news value called prominence. So let's see what definition comes with. The important people are more newsworthy than others. Of course, we are very much familiar with this kind of value of news. In case It is the information related to some of the prominent person of your society that will be published. Definitely that will appear in that newspaper. So let's see how it happens. So the politicians or actors or singers, anyone in public arena or the public eye, they are newsworthy. So this is what we know. Somebody falls down and gets into the hospital. It's not a great news. It is not a news to the people. But in case some celebrities like stars get injured or politicians get injured, definitely you shall read that information very next day, because it comes with the value called prominence. In case more prominent the person is, more important news that will become. The same holds true within your school system. For example, if you go along with the system which we are familiar with, the president of the senior class is more prominent than a freshman. The hierarchy. In case you hold one program in your campus and you invite your HOD or the head of the department as a guest, the hierarchy, his speech will be in the lead, and that will be highlighted. In case you call the principal of an institution to the same program, where you have two guests, one is your HOD and second one is the principal. If you go with the prominence, who becomes first, who comes first? Of course the principal. So his speech will be highlighted, or whatever information he shares will be highlighted. When it comes to the president of the institution, again, even though you have your HOD, even though you have a principal, the president's speech will be highlighted, because that hierarchy or the prominence to that person decides his news value. So this is how we decide value of that particular information with the prominence value. So the prominence can also be determined by the facts rather than the people involved. So in case that fact or that event has some prominence, it's not about the person only, even the content of that event is prominent to the people, even you can report that for the people. For example, one national award is prominent than a local award function. In case there are two events to be attended, one is local award function and another one is the national award function, and of course you know that the prominence will be given to the national award because it stands first when it comes to the prominence value. So let's go with another news value, that is proximity news value. So what is proximity? Let's see with the definition. News closer to home has more news value than that from far away. That is, news closer to home has more news value than that from far away place. So it is always about your area. People wants to know what's happening next to them. It is not like they want to know everything, but the importance will be given to the information of their own locality. Fire in England is less newsworthy than fire in your hometown. So something is happening in England, of course you will be interested to know, but something is happening even in your neighborhood, something is happening in your hometown, you give much importance to the happening of your hometown rather than the information of one foreign land. So this is what we call as the proximity value. However, if something happens in far away place, the proximity value says that something happens in your area, that is more important to the people. But you have to check with another factor, that if something happens in one foreign location or in foreign land, but it involves the people of your locality, even you can apply proximity value over there, because here the proximity will be dragged into this information with the local person, because he is your neighbor and he is facing something in a far away land. You will be interested to know what's happening to him. So that's what we have given here. If something happens far away but involves local people, then the news value increases because of proximity. Example, fire in England, that's what we have taken earlier. A fire in England involves a local student away on a foreign exchange program, then the news value of that fire increases for your readers. Something happening far away but involved with the local people, still it comes with the proximity value and it becomes a news to the people. You can publish that information because of that proximity value. It gives the status of news to that information. So let's go with the other value is consequence. What is consequence? Let's see. That which directly affects readers has more news value. The consequence of the information, in case it is directly associated with the reader or directly affects the reader, then you can publish that information. Let's see how it is done. How many readers will be affected by that information? So this is how we have to estimate the impact factor, that is the consequence of the published information, or how will this information affects the reader and will it cost them money. Even this factor need to be observed. So the immediate and long term impact of an information will definitely make news. Here, immediate or a long term consequence of an event, see that it's immediate and long term consequence of an event makes news. It's not like whatever you publish get immediate impact on the people. It may affect them in future, it may affect them lately, but still that consequence of that event will prevail, that will be continued in the mind of reader, and the greater the impact of information upon the readers or the more readers affected by the information, the greater news value of that information. So it also includes the number of people who are involved with that consequence factor. So in case it is going to affect a lot more number of people, definitely that information is newsworthy and you can publish it. Well, these are few values of news which you have to observe when presenting some content for the publication. There are few more values left. I will continue that values in the next part of this lesson. Thank you.